Okay, so I'm going to have a look at this game that you sent me where you had a very nice win. And I'll look through the moves and make comments where I can. Okay, you take with the B pawn. Nothing wrong with that. It's just I personally in this position I like to take with the D pawn. Of course white can't take because we have the strong move queen to D4, forking the knight and the pawn. And let's just quickly have a look at the difference between taking with the B pawn and taking with the D pawn. Now taking with the B pawn, remember to always think in terms of evaluation, as I said in the 10-day chess challenge. So in terms of your position evaluation, taking with the B pawn will help you get extra control over the center because you've got more pawns in the center. Taking with the D pawn maybe compromises a little bit on your center control, but it helps you develop a lot quicker because now your bishop will be able to come out quicker and you'll have the open D file. Now the open D file in the center can become very useful. So it's a trade-off. You have to decide. Do you want to go for a more solid approach, giving you more center control? Or do you want to go for a game where you get quick development and control over the D file? So that's just the interesting little difference between the two moves. Okay, so now we just have normal development. Okay, this move bishop to b7, I think it's not a bad move. It does also add pressure on the e4 point, so from that point of view it's good. But from an evaluation point of view, if you look at this position, then you have to wonder, is the bishop really that much better on b7 than he is on c8? Is it really worth a move at this stage? I personally probably would have castled first and consider the possibility of playing with the rook on the b file. However, nothing wrong with bishop b7. As a matter of fact, it actually turned out to be very strong in this game. Like you proved there now, because winning the pawn. Okay, this is what I think your first strategic mistake, taking the knight. I think it would have been better to bring the bishop back. Either bring it back this way or bring it back this way. I probably would have liked to bring it back this way. Probably c6 would have been my choice. The reason why I would choose c6 over b7 is I don't want to close up the b file. I think in future maybe my rook is going to want to come to the b file, so that's why I'd rather put my bishop on c6 instead of b7. Now, why do I say this is a strategic mistake? Well, in this position, white is under some pressure, and it's a little difficult for him to develop. I would have tried to keep the pressure on his position by keeping this bishop. And another thing you need to keep in mind is a bishop is usually stronger than a knight. So you don't want to give a bishop away for a knight unless you get some very definite compensation for it. Well, okay, yes. This move, knight to d5, that you just played here, the reason why I don't like it so much is because you put it on the undefended square and you give white a chance to just attack it, and you have to find a defense for it again. So instead of playing knight to d5, I probably would have played a development move like rook to e8. Alright, so once again, knight d5, it's not a mistake, but I think rook to e8 would have done more for the evaluation of your position, would have done more to improve your development aspect. Okay, knight b6. Okay, maybe not bad move, although I think it was pretty nice on d5. I'm not sure why you had to bring it back to b6. Okay, here you exchanged rooks, which I think actually just help white. It just helps him get his rook onto an open file. It's a small difference, but as you've noticed maybe from the 10-day chess challenge, I'd rather wait for white to take me. Why do you want to take him first? Wait for him to take us, and then we can bring this rook out of the corner and develop at the same time. So in this position, I think I would have played bishop takes g5 for two reasons. The one reason is Now this knight is undefended, and we can maybe make a development move whilst at the same time making a threat against this undefended knight at some point. And the other reason why I would capture is white does have some pressure. He's threatening to capture us, which will give us this this isolated pawn, these double isolated pawns on the f file. I would want to avoid that. That's why I probably would have taken bishop takes g5 here. Okay, so you made the exchange. Queen to d8. Okay, knight back to d7. Think about this move again, knight back to d7. Think of the... Okay, first of all, you have to think about the calculation. But I think in this position, there's not too much to calculate. You could calculate some white threats, but there's not too much to calculate. You pretty much have to calculate evaluation here. And I think it would be clear that you need to try and make a plan to neutralize his queen and to get your rook into the action here. So maybe a move like queen to d7 makes a lot more sense. Or even knight to e4. That's a very strong position for the knight. I think this is the two moves you should spot in this position. Offering a queen trade and go into an endgame with the extra pawn, or improving the development of your knight by going to e4. I don't really see why you went to d7. I don't see how that improves the development of your position. g5. Okay, so you have to calculate a little bit here, because now white does have some threats, particularly with regards to g6, playing the pawn to g6, because if you place the pawn to g6, you're going to have troubles. Let's quickly look at that, because you played h5 in this position, which was a mistake. Because white can now play g6, and now you're under some pressure. For example, if you take, or if you play f6, you pretty much have to do something with this pawn, because white is threatening to capture. Let's say, for example, you play f6, then check, and queen takes c6. White wins a pawn back, and he's got very good development and a lot of pressure against you. So that shows why this move h5 wasn't ideal. The correct move here would have been g6, and the reason why g6 works is because you make an immediate threat against the queen. The queen has to do something, has to move away, and after queen f4, for example, then you can play h5, and this would be a bit better. Or you could even play h takes g, and if he plays like this, then this is the position, and maybe this pawn will become a target. Okay, so you are under some pressure here, and I don't think h5 was the best way to deal with it. Luckily, your opponent didn't play g6. He should have calculated the forcing move, making threats with g6. But okay, he played king g2, giving you a chance to play g6, block the advance of his pawn, and now your position is a lot safer. Okay, you're offering a queen trade, and white shouldn't accept the queen trade here because he's a pawn behind. He wants to try keep as many pieces on the board as possible, so that he can use that pieces to make threats against you, put pressure on you, and maybe even try to win back the material before he just goes into an endgame. So this is a mistake. He's helping you a lot by just exchanging the queens. Okay, and similarly, this is a very good idea. You want to exchange the rooks because you have a big advantage in the endgame since you're pawn ahead. And if I was white, I wouldn't exchange the rooks. I'd rather try and fight back by keeping the rook on the board. Okay, so now we reach an endgame where you should be able to win this if you're careful. Just calculate on every move that you're not making mistakes, add pressure on him. And f6 is a nice move, threatening to mess up his pawn structure. f5 is a nice move from white because it gives him a passed pawn as well. Okay, knight g6. And now white has got a black, sorry, has got a very solid position. You can just, because you've got the king side under control. And you've got this nice passed pawn here. So now you just need to play to try and create a passed pawn over here. And as soon as you manage to get a passed pawn over here, you'll pretty much win the position, because white will be forced to deal with the passed pawn, which will give you time to come capture this pawn, and then you'll reach your winning position. Okay, in this position you played knight to h8, which was actually a mistake. If you think about it from an evaluation point of view, there's no reason why you should play knight to h8. And as a matter of fact, the consequence of playing this move is you allowed white to play knight to f4 check. And now suddenly it's black who's got problems, because this passed pawn is going to become a big problem to black. His king will have to watch the pawn here. And also white will be threatening to play g7, attacking your knight, and black is in trouble. Fortunately, white didn't play the move knight f4. He played king f4, and it looks like you noticed your mistake and immediately brought the knight back. Okay, and you managed to achieve another passed pawn. And this passed pawn pretty much seals the game. Okay, and now black is just winning. You managed to find a nice way to finish off the game here. With these two passed pawns and the fact that white has only one passed pawn that is under control, your king is nicely in the center, so you're busy winning this game now. Okay, so I think this was a very well played game. Maybe the lesson you can learn from it is there were one or two opportunities that you took a piece that was already relatively well developed and moved it to a square where you didn't really improve your position. And then there was also that time when he was advancing on your king that you didn't find the correct defensive move. So I just want to remind you that you need to focus on the two main thinking processes: calculation and evaluation. Focus on that because it guides your thinking process in the right direction. And also those two questions that I mentioned, you pretty much have to ask yourselves, are there any tactics in the position? And if there aren't any tactics in the position, then what can I do to further improve the evaluation of my position? Okay, so I hope you learned something from this game, and that you'll enjoy the next game. Cheers.